You are driving down the interstate, cruising perfectly at 75 miles per hour, and suddenly that little yellow horseshoe-shaped icon lights up on your dashboard. The tire pressure monitoring system warning. Most drivers treat this light exactly like a low windshield washer fluid reminder. They ignore it, turn up the radio, figure they will deal with it this weekend, and just keep driving. But what if I told you that by the time the TPM's light actually illuminates on your dash, you have already permanently damaged your expensive tires, seriously compromise your suspension? That little light is not a friendly, early warning maintenance reminder. It is a full-blown, last resort emergency alert. Many modern vehicles use an indirect TPM system that relies on your anti-lock braking wheel speed sensors, while others use direct sensors inside the barrel of the wheel. Regardless of the technology, if your recommended tire pressure is 32 PSI, the warning system often will not trigger until the tire drops all the way down to a dangerous 24 PSI or even lower. At that drastically low pressure, your sidewalls are folding over, generating massive MSAF friction and internal heat. Your emergency handling is entirely compromised, and you are literally burning money out of your tailpipe with every single mile. According to federal highway data, a staggering 80% of drivers on the road right now are rolling around with improperly inflated tires. You might think you are doing everything perfectly because you religiously check that little sticker inside your driver's side door jamb, but that sticker is hiding a massive automotive secret that is quietly costing you hundreds of dollars every year. To completely rethink how you look at the 4 patches of rubber connecting your heavy machine to the pavement. It is not just about avoiding a flat tire on the side of the road. It is about unlocking better MPG, sharper steering response, and preventing your expensive set of tires from turning into bald racing slicks prematurely. Before we dive under the hood of how tire pressure actually dictates your suspension geometry and overall safety, if you want to stop throwing your hard-earned cash away at the dealership and keep your daily driver running perfectly, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now so we can keep bringing you the unfiltered garage truth. Let us talk about a massive mistake people make when their car starts handling terribly. You are cruising in your daily driver, maybe a Toyota Camry or a Ford F-150, and you notice the steering wheel is constantly fighting you. The vehicle keeps pulling hard into the other lane, and the steering feels incredibly heavy and sloppy in your hands. The immediate instinct for most people is to panic and take the car straight to a suspension shop. The mechanic puts your car up on the laser rack, charges you $150 for a 4-wheel alignment, and sends you on your way. But the reality is, your tie rods, control arms, and camber settings were probably perfectly fine from the factory. A massive percentage of alignment issues and steering pull are actually caused by drastic tire pressure imbalances left to right. If your front left tire is sitting at a solid 38 PSI and your front right tire has slowly leaked down to 25 PSI over the months, the rolling resistance on the right side of the vehicle is incredibly high. That soft, underinflated tire violently drags the entire chassis towards the ditch. That soft tire acts like a terrible, mushy spring in your suspension system. When you see a pothole or take a sharp corner, the tire sidewall completely collapses, causing the expensive strut to overcompress and bottom out. Before you ever spend a single dollar on suspension work or alignment racks, you need to grab a quality digital tire pressure gauge and verify that your pressures are perfectly matched across the same axle. We have to address the absolute biggest lie in the automotive maintenance world, the door sticker. Almost every single driver on the road assumes that the magical number printed on that driver's side door jamb is the perfect, universally correct tire pressure for their specific vehicle under all conditions. It is absolutely not. That number is actually a highly specific engineering calculation based on the absolute maximum gross vehicle weight rating. When automotive engineers print 32 PSI or 35 PSI on that sticker, they are calculating the absolute minimum safe air pressure required to keep the tire from experiencing a catastrophic blowout. When every single seat in the cabin is occupied by a heavy adult, the trunk is completely maxed out with heavy luggage, and you are hurtling down the highway. It is a worst-case scenario stress test designed for liability reasons. But think about your actual, real-world daily driving habits. How often are you hauling 800 pounds of concrete or a full family of 5 in your vehicle? Most of the time, it is just you, a cup of coffee, and maybe a gym bag sitting in the passenger seat. Your vehicle is running hundreds of pounds lighter than that maximum rated capacity, which completely changes the structural dynamics of how your tire physically interacts with the road surface. I learned this lesson the absolute hardest way possible a few years back. I dropped exactly $800 on a premium set of top-tier, name-brand all-season tires for my daily commuter. These tires carried a massive 60,000-mile treadwear warranty from the factory. I thought I was doing everything by the book. I checked my tire pressure religiously every single month, keeping it exactly at the 32 PSI printed on my door sticker. I even paid for professional tire rotations every 5,000 miles, right on the dot, to ensure even wear. But at barely 18,000 miles into the life of those brand new tires, I noticed something absolutely terrifying during a routine wash. The outer shoulders, the very extreme edges of all 4 tires, were completely worn down to the bare rubber wear bars, while the dead center of the tread looked like it had never even touched the pavement. I took the car to a master tire technician, fully ready to claim my treadwear warranty and demand a refund. He took one look at the wear patterns, pulled out his pocket gauge, and asked me what pressure I usually ran. I proudly told him 32 PSI, exactly what the factory manual stated. He just shook his head, laughed a little, and told me I ruined the tires myself. When you run that minimum door sticker pressure on a vehicle that is completely empty and lightly loaded, the tires actually react mathematically as if they are severely underinflated. Because there's not enough heavy weight pushing down from the steel chassis to flatten the tire evenly against the pavement, the stiff reinforced sidewalls end up taking the entire load of the vehicle. The tire physically flexes and bows outward at the bottom. Because of this flex, the center of the tread slightly lifts off the ground, creating a microscopic cup shape in the contact patch. This means the extreme outer edges of your tires are doing 100% of the heavy lifting when accelerating, braking, and cornering. They get incredibly hot and scrub aggressively against the rough asphalt. It is exactly like pressing down on a slightly deflated basketball. The sides bulge out and touch the floor, but the center floats in the air. That is exactly what is happening to expensive rubber at high speeds. Not only are you destroying the outer tread, but this cupping effect severely compromises your safety. Because the center tread is lifted, the deep water evacuation grooves cannot properly channel standing water out from under the tire, making you incredibly susceptible to terrifying hydroplaning at highway speeds. You are essentially throwing away tens of thousands of miles of usable tire life simply because you followed a generalized sticker meant for a full loaded road trip. We're about to break down exactly how you bypass the factory sticker and find the true, optimal tire pressure that will make your car handle like a track car and save your tread. But before we reveal the mathematical sidewall calculation the tire shops absolutely do not want you to know, hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss out on the mechanical secrets that keep your wallet full and your car out of the shop. How do you actually find the right pressure for your daily commute if the door sticker is lying to you? You have to stop looking at the car chassis and start looking directly at the tire itself. Get down on the ground and deeply inspect the black rubber sidewall. Somewhere along the outer edge, hidden in small raised lettering, you are going to find a safety specification that says something like maximum pressure 51 PSI. This is the absolute maximum safe operating pressure the tire manufacturer engineered that specific casing to handle before it becomes structurally dangerous. To find the ultimate sweet spot for perfect, even treadwear, crisp steering handling, and maximized fuel economy, the professional garage rule of thumb is to calculate about 10 to 15% below that stated maximum sidewall pressure. So, if you buy a high-quality tire that says 51 PSI max on the side, your daily driving sweet spot is actually going to be sitting right around 38 to 42 PSI. You do not want to run 32 PSI. You want to bump it up closer to 40 PSI. People constantly freak out and ask if this is considered dangerous overinflation. Absolutely not. Overinflating a tire means you are physically hooking an up air compressor and pumping air past that 51 PSI maximum limit stamped on the rubber. Running 40 PSI in a tire heavily rated for 51 is incredibly safe and well within the engineering tolerances. Yes, the suspension might transmit a tiny bit more road feel into the cabin, and the ride might feel slightly firmer when you hit a pothole, but the mechanical trade-off is massive. The tire will stand up perfectly straight. The entire flat contact patch will meet the road evenly. Your steering rack will feel incredibly precise, and your engine does not have to work nearly as hard to overcome rolling resistance. You will immediately notice a bump in your MPG, saving you serious cash at the gas pump. While you are down there adjusting your pressures up to that optimal 40 PSI range, there is another critical tire secret you absolutely must check, and it has absolutely nothing to do with air pressure. It is the chemical age of the rubber itself. I see people driving around with perfectly inflated tires that have massive amounts of deep tread left, but the tires are a complete and total safety hazard. Rubber compounds naturally degrade, dry out, and harden over time due to intense UV sun exposure and constant heat cycling from the friction of the brake rotors. You need to locate the DOT code stamped on the sidewall. It is a long string of letters that ends in 4 specific numbers. The first 2 numbers represent the week it was manufactured, and the last 2 numbers represent the year. If that code says 4180, that means the tire was physically built in the 41st week of 2018. If your tires are more than 6 or 7 years old, the rubber has essentially cured and turned into hard, slick plastic. It does not matter if you have them inflated to the perfect pressure. Hardened, dry, rotted tires cannot grip the pavement in an emergency braking situation. Resistance drastically increases. The ABS system kicks in prematurely because the tires are skidding, and the risk of a high-speed sidewall blowout becomes extremely elevated. Perfect tire pressure means absolutely nothing if you are riding on expired, dangerous rubber. Finally, we have to talk about the laws of thermodynamics and how the changing weather literally steals air straight out of your tires. Most people only bother to check their tires in the dead of summer before a long family road trip, but they completely ignore them when the seasons change and the leaves start falling. Here is the undeniable physics of compressed air. For every 10° Fahrenheit drop in ambient outside air temperature, your tires will naturally lose roughly 1 full PSI of pressure. Let us say you perfectly inflate your tires to 40 PSI on a beautiful summer afternoon in July when it is 90 degrees outside. Suddenly, November hits. A massive cold front moves in overnight, and you wake up to a freezing 30-degree morning without a single nail puncture, rim leak, or faulty valve stem. The air molecules inside your tires have physically condensed due to the cold. You are suddenly driving to work on tires sitting at 34 PSI, or even you lost temperature. This massive seasonal fluctuation is exactly why checking your tires once a year is a complete recipe for disaster. When the cold weather rolls in, you are unknowingly driving on severely underinflated tires, destroying the outer tread blocks, heavily stressing the sidewalls, and ruining your gas mileage. You need to grab your digital gauge and manually add that pressure back in during the winter months to maintain that optimal sweet spot. Taking complete control of your tire pressure is quite literally the cheapest, easiest, and most highly effective mechanical maintenance task you can ever perform in your own driveway. Stop trusting the absolute minimums printed on the door sticker. Stop waiting for the emergency dashboard to tell you something is catastrophically wrong, and start treating your tires like the complex engineering marvels they actually are. Proper inflation saves your expensive suspension components, saves your fuel, money, saves your life in a high-speed panic stop. I want you to head out to your driveway right now. Check the maximum pressure stamped on your sidewall and tell me in the comments down below what your true target pressure should be versus what you have been running all these years. Also, drop the DOT date code in the comments so we can see who is driving on the oldest rubber on the channel. If this deep dive changed the way you look at your daily driver, hit that subscribe button. Share this with a friend who always has a flat tire, and keep those rides running strong and safe.